to me. All right, we're back. Okay, here we are. What's going on, Data Transformers? This is Balaji, and we have the legendary JB Brooks in the seat today. He's the principal data and AI architect at Astrodata, and he spoke at our recent DBT conference. So we want all the tea, we want all the goodies. We want to know how JB was actually able to pull off such a phenomenal presentation. JB, welcome.
Baji, thank you. Yeah, great to be back. Stoked to talk about it. Yeah, Summit, Coalesce Summit now was a blast. And yeah, let's jump in.
Yeah, JB is a longtime DBT advocate. He's a big time mentor and hero in the community. And so it's a thrill to be able to hear from him. So, JB, let's start here. What was your presentation title when you spoke at the conference?
Yeah, I was actually on a panel last year. Basically it was a deep dive on self-service AI and sort of unlocking it with metadata. I think
Mhm.
it was like why AI initiatives or POCs fail and how metadata can solve them. And sort of was diving in on that topic and sort of like the collection of semantic information necessary in DBT and otherwise to sort of now allow for like AI, self-service analytics, things like that to not just be like a tiny little POC, but something more interesting.
Ooh, that's a hot one. And that's a topic that a lot of people are actually asking to hear more about in terms of like AI agents and things of that nature for this year's conference. How did you come up with that topic, though?
Mhm. Yeah, in this case, it was sort of a combined effort with a good friend of mine, Sarah, who leads up a organization called and they're
Mm,
kind of like focused in the metadata domain, and partnered with some other colleagues, someone over at Salesforce, someone who's been kind of managing a DBT team for a long time, and we kind of came
nice.
together and said like let's talk about this like some kind of quantifiable things, some qualitative like challenges that have been seen in the world, and just dive in. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love it. Man, that was like you guys forming the Avengers or something. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Now, JB, how much experience had you had speaking at conferences, speaking from stage at that point?
Mhm. Yeah. Well, for that one, I've done a couple times before that, so it wasn't the first one. But I'd say that one such past one that was my first kind of conference talk was Coalesce 2020,
Yeah.
5 years before.
Wow.
So some I'd say like some kind of backing experience that helps like understand what the process is like, but for me, like even if I've done it before, like every time there's some of those nerves or some of those like
Ooh.
well and yeah.
Let's talk about that though. That's really good, and I'm glad you shared that because honestly, I mean, you're doing big things at Astrodata right now. Come on, the principal data and AI architect. We see that title. We see your contributions in the community, JB. And let's be honest. A lot of us are aspiring to get to where you are in our career. We can feel like maybe we're not quite ready to take the stage. How did you deal with the nerves? Was there any sort of imposter syndrome? Tell me about the emotions.
Definitely. There is, I imagine there always will be. And and I do sort of like for my own reflection, sort of kind of try to simultaneously like use it as a touchstone that like this like when I'm preparing for a speaking or of any kind, like there is an audience, there are people listening. I want to appropriately prepare and like appropriately think about what I want to say and make sure it makes sense and make sure it's resonating with an audience. But I'd say like if you make time as a speaker or you're thinking about speaking and you're like, can I do the prep work? Can I, I do not have to be an expert in every facet of your topic either. Like there are going to be unknowns. That's okay too. But if you have like the capability to do that prep work and kind of just think intentionally about like that talk, that from there, I think the sort of the nerves, the things that make those talks like a little bit hard, especially the day of, which are very hard to avoid, are just are they're okay. I think you can like trust that that prep work will guide you, and sort of allow that to be a universal human thing. Like I guess you
Wow.
said, even for myself being having done a couple talks in the past or used DBT a long time, I still get those nerves, and I just am like, oh, that's okay. We're all in this. The whole audience knows that I will not be perfect, just as they probably wouldn't be either if they were up there. And yeah.
That's really key, and I'd love to dig in on that a little bit more, if I may, JB. This whole idea of sometimes we get this thought that there's someone or there are some people in the audience that know more than me on this topic, which might be the case, but there's also going to be a ton of people who don't have your experience or your viewpoint. How do you deal with that pressure of maybe not being the foremost expert in the room?
Yeah, well, one direct experience of mine that like helped me kind of be okay with that is just in my last role. I was like leading up a data engineering team, and we had a couple like staff and principal level individual contributors on the team, and senior team members and folks that were newer. And routinely in meetings, architecture planning topics, otherwise, I would just come in with a thought about how we were going to do something and be totally wrong. Like by the end of the topic, I was like, "Oh nope, they've got it." I'm glad we had this talk, because if I had done it alone, I'd be out of luck. And sort of even being in I think in data a long time, you kind of recognize and you kind of get that humility of like tons of people around me know more about certain topics, and that's okay. Like in those topics, in those calls, I definitely contributed something unique that like informed our end state. And I think that can be what this talk is. Like you do that preparatory work, you do that, you kind of build that strong mental model. There will be people in the audience that might have difference of opinion. That's all right. It might either firm up theirs, or they might have a different thought now. Like, oh, even if I take some of or all of what this topic was about, I can maybe apply this to my work, and it helps enrich my like more complete understanding of that topic or data in DBT.
I love that, JB. And it reminds me, I had the opportunity to present to this audience last year. The thing is, because we all come from a community, it's not a cold audience. It's a warm room. They're sort of rooting for you to do well up there.
Totally. Yeah, I remember in both times I've been at Coalesce, now DBT Summit, I had people come up after, and there was even one person that was like, was expressing that like they were still like trying to digest that, and maybe they had come in with a different opinion. And we ended up talking later on LinkedIn about the topic in more detail. It was about
Wow.
DBT and semantic layers downstream. So it's just cool. Just think about it as like community building. Like even if someone comes in with a different thought, like that could be cool, awesome and cool. And I think people at Coalesce DBT Summit are sort of very much of the mind of like, I'm here to not only learn, but also do community building and like learn and talk to new people in this data space. It's like a very welcoming environment.
Man, that's really cool. What an experience. Okay, I got a couple more questions for you, JB.
Yeah.
How would you say speaking at the DBT conference has contributed to your career?
Mhm. Yeah, I'll speak maybe first to that one I did a few years back, if that's okay. I think the biggest thing for me, I mean, sort of like qualitatively, getting up there, doing that prep work, sort of speaking with like a large audience listening, did a ton of work for me in terms of how I can present in my day-to-day work with talking to a VP or talking to a wider set of the technical team members, or like our marketing team, things like that. Just kind of being comfortable, a little bit more comfortable to say like, even though I maybe come from a more technical background, I can like have a bit more empathy for a lot of audiences in what I'm talking about, and try to like connect in those different perspectives.
Right.
I feel like it sharpened that tool, which is like super cool in data. And I think, probably in our kind of modern like AI world, more and more important than ever.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and then secondarily, I'd say just more directly, like some of those people I met in doing that talk, and just those post conversations after the talk have been people I've kept up with today, some of which I've done even a little bit of work with directly, or talked about open source projects. So yeah.
That's exceptional. That's exceptional. That's exciting. Okay. All right. We're about to close this, JB. This has been really cool, man. I want to submit for a talk. But JB, what would you say to encourage data professionals who maybe have never spoken from stage and they're on the fence, but they're not sure that this is the year they should submit? What would you say to encourage them?
I'd say you absolutely can do it. If especially if you feel like there's a topic, or if you caught up on some of the talks at Summit last year and you were like, oh, I'd love to dive in on that further, or I'd love to provide an additional kind of domain to speak about. There's so much that you can contribute in this community. And I think even if you're a little bit more shy, or a little bit unsure about your ability to kind of synthesize that information and speak to it well, just note that one, everybody feels that way, and that's totally okay and normal, and you'll get a ton of support on the way if you do get, kind of chosen for a talk. Um, and two, I think, speaking as somebody who grew up like extremely shy, I think like it doesn't define you, and even if you are more technical and you kind of like really anchor onto that in your day-to-day work, I think it doesn't, you can also potentially consider doing this and see if it's something that you enjoy, and at the very least learn a ton from it and meet a bunch of really awesome people.
Wow, man, you said it all, JB. This is incredible. Folks, we've been talking to the JB Brooks, Principal Data and AI Architect at Astrodata. This is exciting. Can't wait to see you at this year's conference. Thank you for sharing, JB.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to be there. And Balaji, thanks for having me.
All right, appreciate you. We'll see you all on the next one. Bye for now.
Bye.